Well, good evening, laddies, lasses, and lassos. Welcome to The Click. I hope you're having an amazing day. I'm sorry for looking and sounding a bit scruffy today. I'm currently down with an annoying cold and I wasn't really planning to appear on camera in this condition, but a situation came up and I felt that I really needed to address this as honestly and straightforwardly as possible. A video was released recently talking about a specific sponsorship that has been trending a lot on YouTube and been supported by a lot of channels. And I'm sad to admit that this is a sponsor that also appeared on this channel. And for that, I want to say that I am sorry. I do not like the thought of people spending money on something that was made up to be something it might not be. I have linked the full video in the description if you're interested in taking a look at the deep dive regarding the sponsor and the company behind it. I do want to clarify that I don't work with the sponsor anymore. I did drop them a little while ago for other reasons. The stuff in this video was all news to me, but I'll get into that in a little bit. I figured I would talk a bit about sponsorships and the background about this specific one, how things like this happen, and also try my very best to own up to this blunder. During the summer, I started working with a new agency, and these sponsorship agencies work with basically pairing up influencers and public figures on YouTube and stuff with brands that might fit their demographic. One of the brands they came to me with was this company that sells souvenir plots of land. They work with nature reserves, they work with planting trees, and they fund this effort by selling these small souvenir plots and giving you like a nice little diploma that says you're an owner of this land and you are a lord, basically. Now, in the beginning, this sounded like a pretty interesting concept to me. It sounded like a company that was working with nature reserves, with planting trees, with environmental efforts, and they had this fun, gimmicky idea to get people involved in it and also to fund it. And as I always do with new sponsors on this channel, I took the time to look into what they were doing. I looked at reviews, I looked at customer feedback, I looked through YouTube to make sure they didn't have any ongoing scandals or anything that would make this not a viable sponsor, or etc., etc. I also specifically reached out to the CEO of this agency that brought this brand to me and asked if they had done their background research on this company. And they assured me that they had flown out these people themselves and had met with them in person to talk to them, get to know them, and plan everything in advance and yada yada. And I want to clarify that this is not to make excuses or pretend that it's not my responsibility, because everything that goes up on my channel, I have the final say. It is my channel, my responsibility of what I produce. I'm just hoping to create a bit of transparency, hopefully repairing some of the trust that has been damaged, and do what I can do to make things right. So I took on this sponsorship, and I made a first sponsorship video with them. And everything went perfectly smooth. Everything was fine and dandy, and in a bit the sponsor came back to me and wanted to buy an additional 5 sponsorship slots for me at a decently fair rate. I was like, oh, this is super nice. Now I have a few months of sponsorship planned out. I don't do a lot of sponsors on my channel. I see it more as a way to even out demonetized videos or even out revenue throughout the year when, ad revenue goes up and down, that kind of stuff. It's a nice buffer, but I try not to do too much of it because I don't want the channel to feel like it's littered in ads. And I'm also really picky with which sponsors I take on, which is why I'm so embarrassed that this happened, because I don't do crappy sponsors. I don't do mobile games, with a couple of exceptions. Like if Pokemon Go reached out to me, I would probably take it on because I like the game, but otherwise, no. I don't do gambling, I don't do NFTs, despite a lot of NFT companies reaching out to me wanting to mint a bunch of mascot NFTs for a abhorrent amount of money. I don't do these things because I don't believe in them. I think they are shady. I don't like the business aspect. So I'm ashamed that I let something like this slip through, and I'm sorry that it affected people. It sucks so much. But anyway, I signed on for 5 additional sponsor slots. And after I did 2 of them, I started noticing that I was getting some comments saying that, hey, Click, don't work with this company, they're weird. It wasn't a lot of comments. It was maybe a dozen comments out of the couple of thousand I usually get on a video. But it was enough to raise an eyebrow, and the critique was consistent enough to, not just brush it off as trolls. Because the truth is that as soon as you do a sponsor on YouTube, you get a bunch of mean comments. Like, oh my god, you're just a sellout and you're doing this or that. Or, as soon as you do anything like that, you will get a certain amount of flack for it. So it did take me longer than it should have in retrospect to filter out that consistent critique of the sponsor compared to just the typical trolls that you get on any sponsorship or merch or whatever you produce. At the same time as I started getting these comments, the company became increasingly pushy about buying slots. They went so far that they wanted to increase my number of slots for the end of this year by 30 slots, bringing the total amount of booked ad slots on my channel to 35 in 3 months. That is every single video with a sponsorship. And because I already have a couple of sponsorship planned as well, that means some videos would even be doubled sponsored. And you can imagine the compensation for something like this is absolutely insane. It is ridiculous. I have never seen so much money in one place, in one offer. It freaked me out. And it freaked me out for 2 reasons. Number one, it freaked me out that, oh my God, this is legitimately a life-changing amount of money. Reason number 2 is that my gut feeling told me something was off. Why are they pushing these ads so hard? Because if I just switch positions, it's weird to me that a company would buy so many slots in such rapid succession on one single channel. And that's really strange to me, because my logic is basically that after 2, 3, 4, 5 of these sponsored slots in rapid succession, that demographic is going to be saturated. Why are you buying so many slots? And why is a product that is heavily leaning towards charity work so interested in spending this huge amount of money on one single channel? So I decided to buckle down and do a second round of research. And I didn't find that much apart from vague accusations. But what I did find was a lack of transparency. So I didn't find anything specific that was shady, but I couldn't find anywhere where this company, for example, broke down how much of the profit actually went to reservation work or trees versus how much was just profit margins and a cash grab. And for a product that I personally believed in mainly for the charity aspect, this didn't sit right with me, along with this super pushy offer that I declined, and then they came back with a slightly lower offer that I also declined. And then I ended up cutting the last remaining 3 slots I had of those 5 I initially booked. So it wasn't so much that something super shady came into my peripheral, it was a mix of the company being too pushy, a couple of comments sussing them out, and a lack of transparency. That made me no longer comfortable working with them, and I decided to drop them and cut the collaboration short. With sponsors in general, I typically only work with sponsors that I personally enjoy and products that I use. Pretty much every single sponsor I work with, I get sent a product, I try it out, and if I think it's good enough, I will promote it, and I will agree to, the contract that we're writing up. This is what I have done for any sponsor that you see on this channel. But now, with this new video coming out, with all of these allegations, with all of these things coming to light, with the owners of the company owning various things, I'm talking in very vague terms about this because it's hard to say how much is verified versus, all those kind of implications that come with it. But it's sussy enough that I do want to take a step back from it, and I do want to address it publicly. Another thing I would like to do to try to set things right, apart from just addressing this publicly and ensuring everyone I have moved on from the sponsor, I do want to make some of this right. And to do that, I am planning to donate the remaining profits from these sponsorship placements that we did to a suitable charity. The exact number is still a little bit up in the air because we're still awaiting some of the payments with currency transactions and that kind of stuff. I also need to ensure that my team is paid in full and the expenses are accounted for. So the exact amount will be communicated slightly later on my socials with the donation receipts when everything is finished. Not the best conclusion. It would be so much better if everything just worked right away. But I'm hoping that can help repair the trust. I'm hoping that can put some minds at ease and know that the money from the support is still going to a good cause. And I promise to do my best to do better in the future. It is not my intention to have odd things like this pop up on the channel in the way that it has. I'm very picky with my sponsors. I think I only accept maybe 1 out of 20 offers that is made to me because I don't want to be driven by companies I don't fully trust. And this one got the better of me. It was a product that looked really good at first glance. It was endorsed by many other people on the platform. It was endorsed by an agency I was working with. And it turns out I was wrong. I let it get the better of me. And this concept that looked promising and charitable at first may not be what it's made up to be. And for that, I'm sorry. And I'm sorry I supported something like that. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope to see you again in the very near future. Take care.